coach Owen Wright, the Leopards finished the year 39-9 and a perfect 21-0 in the SCIAC. In the NCAA Division III playoffs, Laverne defeated William Patterson, Marietta, and Methodist before rematching with Methodist in the championship game and winning by a score of 5-3. Joining today from that 1995 championship squad are Eddie Bustamante, Jeff Doan, Eric Larson, Pat Murray, Moose Reyes, Francisco Quintana, Brock Hubry, and honorary team member Amber T. That win claimed the Leopards' second national championship and first ever NCAA title. The 1995 squad set a new standard for Laverne baseball achievement and continued a legacy of Leopard excellence that carries on to today's squad. Welcome home, Leopards! Your achievements and dedication to the University of Laverne will not be forgotten. Once a Leo, always a Leo. Thank you, Eddie, Francisco, and Brock.
Yeah, Ed Bustamante.
Moose Reyes.
All right, and we're here today celebrating the 1995 National Championship squad. So take us back, 30 years. So what year were you guys during that season in school?
So for me, I was a senior, getting ready to graduate.
I was a junior that year. Looking forward to just being successful the following year.
And leading up to that season, what were your guys' expectations going in? Did you think? I mean, you obviously knew you had a good squad, but did you think you guys were the goal of Sky Championship? Maybe get into the playoffs, or were you guys knowing from the start that this was like a special squad you guys had?
Well, I think being there before 4 years, we were kind of the middle of the team. So obviously, with Coach Wright, we decided we have to compete because we used to get beat up pretty bad by Kowloon.
Yeah.
So we made it a point to really try to be a better team and to try to go and recruit guys and get people that we thought we could be competitive. That's why we went and got Moose and all the rest. So we thought, hey, I think we have a squad here that we can really compete, not just to be better, but let's see where it takes us.
Yeah, Eddie was, a 4-year graduate from the University. I came in as a transfer that year in '95. That was my first year, so it was a little new, but being around a lot of guys like Eddie, really helped me fit in and find our roles. And that year, honestly, after probably about, I'm going to say the first maybe month, I think we all kind of knew that, hey, we got something special here. And I think a lot of us figured out what role we had to play to keep this going.
I mean, so you guys had a spectacular understanding in the SCIAC that year, right? Winning defeated, I think 21-0.
Yes.
As that role started to get going, what was that momentum like? What was it feeling like? Hey, we might be able to pull off an undefeated regular season.
Well, I think for us, it was like Moose said, pitching was there, hitting was there, fielding was there, and then we were always asked to play a different role. So, for a lot of us, I think that year we had a very, as we would say, athletic team. We could play the infield, outfield, so we always were able to, depending on certain teams, we would make switches to either be better defensively near the end or, bring in who we thought pinch hitter-wise would help at the moment. So we were very tactical that year, which is kind of unusual, but
yes.
But it was also part of, we were very tight as a family, as a team. So we knew we had to do it for each other. So with that momentum, it just gave us a lot of confidence. And then once you beat the teams like the Kowloons that always pound us, then we thought, oh, it's on. We got this. So just kind of kept that momentum going.
Of course, there was obviously superstitions. We had those things going on as well. But in the back of our minds, again, we knew that there was something special going on.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned Kowloon. They had just come into the conference a couple years earlier, and then we're kind of blowing some teams around. So, all right, you mentioned superstition. What were some of your superstitions you guys had going on during that season?
Well, when it comes to hats, we always had the hats. At the same time, it wasn't like you can't wash your hat. Same thing. We wore the stirrups the same way. We didn't wash our pants depending on where we were, because back then we did have them launder our pants, but we wouldn't put them in the laundry. We would just put our jerseys. So it was things like that that with the smell and all, it kept us on par, put it that way. It kept us on our toes.
One easy thing too was just making sure, like, when you did the national anthem, you stood by the same person you had the last game that you won. Those kind of things.
Yeah.
You didn't want to change anything.
No.
So, what was the method behind the pants? You said, so did you guys go the whole Sky season without washing them, or was it after certain? What was the rhyme and reason?
Well, it's just like us baseball guys. It's just if it worked, then we just kept going.
Yeah.
And for us, we went undefeated in Skyac, so it was just rolling and rolling. We would just dust it off. But yeah, I mean, I know Owen at that point didn't care either, because we were like, hey, whatever works. But I mean, not the whole team did it, but for some of us that we knew, to like, all right, dude, this
you
is
knew which locker rooms to avoid.
Yes, there you go. Yes.
Were you guys wearing white pants?
We had white pinstripe. We had the double white pinstripes. We had gray, and then we had gray again, but gray and green, because that was the grass and the dirt.
Yes, that's pretty much what it was. That's
I was gonna say, by the end, those must have been some dark pants, right?
No.
All right, so you guys wrap up the Skyac season undefeated, Skyac champs. I mean, that ton of momentum going into the playoffs. What was you feeling like heading into the postseason with all that momentum you guys had built up?
Well, I know for us, we were excited. We had gone into regionals, but the crazy part is we actually weren't even seeded #1 in regionals. We were eighth. We were last, and we're like, what did this happen? Why? But being from a California team, then it was very tough, because then you had the teams from Wisconsin. You had a lot of those teams that had been there before, so they were seeded.
Marietta,
that's Marietta.
Year after year, a team that's there all the time, used to this kind of thing.
Yeah,
and we weren't, for sure. And again, and probably maybe the reason why we had such a low seed was maybe they didn't know Laverne at the time, and it's true. Not a lot of people probably did, but our pitching staff, honestly, was just rock solid that year.
They were solid, and they were pitchers. That was the great thing about it. Little different than nowadays, where everybody's blowing gas. Our guys could throw hard, but what we did do very well was we managed the off speed.
Yeah.
If you go back and look at stats with Jeff, with Vargas, curveballs, sliders, those were probably 75% of the time what we threw to keep them out. They were phenomenal and consistent. I mean, that was our bread and butter.
100% it was.
So as you guys, keep winning, advance, towards the championship round, what was that experience like leading up to it? You were mentioning a little bit of some of that travel, before we started talking, but even before the game, what was that like? Knowing, hey, this is it. We're getting to the final step here.
This is what's interesting. We get there to Roanoke, Virginia, and I believe it was probably for the first 3 days. It rained. We were stuck in a hotel room, not doing anything. It was cabin fever. I think a lot of us were just kind of going, a little crazy in the rooms, but having fun. Again, we're good. Yeah. Maybe not the tightest knit of all families, that but we had our issues with some other teammates, but that was all fun and games too. But we got through it, and so after we had our first game, after 3 days of sitting in the rooms, we knew what we had to do. We knew how good we were, and leading up to that final game, I think we were, for the most part, relaxed. We knew we can win. We'd already beaten that Team Methodist a game prior, and we're throwing Jeff Doan, one of our best, and we prevailed.
Yeah, I think that was great. Is we actually, as we came in the 8th seed, we wound up having to play the teams that were better according to them. So we actually came in going 3-0, to where by the time being the round robin tournament, after the third game, we had already or 4-0. I can't remember, but we had already qualified for the championship, because back then it's one and done. There wasn't a series.
Correct.
So you could go undefeated and then you play the person from the losers bracket. It didn't matter; it was one and done. So we had already qualified by the end of those games. So we knew going into the game. I think we did lose one game.
We
Right?
lost, yeah.
But that one, it was like it didn't matter.
It was a meaningless game for us, but it was important for them to win.
Correct. And we had everybody who didn't get a chance to play, then we were able to play everybody, which was kind of cool.
Yeah.
So everybody had a chance for that experience at that World Series.
So what do you guys remember from the championship game against Methodist? What were some of the details to pick up? Some of the feelings throughout the game you guys had.
Well, intensity. I mean, it's intense like any game.
Pretty much. It was a low-scoring game. I want to say going into the 9th inning, we were winning 5-3,
I think.
Oh no, they might. I can't remember. It might have been 5-2. So it was still a close game. It was definitely an intense game the whole time. We actually, Jeff, like I said, Jeff Doden started for us. We brought in probably at the time our number one ace, which was JD Romero, to finish off the game. Something that we hadn't done very often during the season. We always had our relievers come out of the bullpen, but we brought in JD to finish off the game. But it was close. Don't get me wrong. They Methodist rallied in the final inning. I want to say they might have scored a run actually that inning too.
We got to a point where it was like men on base and like one hit would tie it or go, and there was the jitters. I remember that being in left field. It was like, oh man, we gotta get one more.
It was intense. It really was. I think I came in as a sub in the 9th inning, played right field. The first ball hit that inning was to me. And was I scared? Yeah. I mean, I was nervous. I thought you might miss the ball, but again, we knew, you just play with confidence. Is that all it was? And
the atmosphere was phenomenal. Like I said, we were in Roanoke, and then we played at Salem Field, which was the Avalanche. So it was packed, more than what we've ever had before. But it was cool. It was awesome. I mean, it was awesome.
Yeah.
The humidity was terrible, but other than that, it was awesome. We thought we would be okay in the heat, but that's a whole nother humidity. Heat is different.
That's right. I kind of forgotten about that, but
we were crybabies about that. I know I was. This was crazy.
We were not
I'm
used
from
to
Vegas, so I was like,
it was the bugs.
Exactly.
It was just the bugs.
It was crazy.
So once the game ended, I mean, very few people know what it's like to be a national champion. What was that feeling like, and how did that feeling settle in for you guys?
I think for us, the elation, I mean, we set on this journey, all of us, like I said, going through the struggles as a program and building it back up, and, being there with Coach Wright, or we would know as Owen. He'd been there for years, and everything just came together, and we were excited. We celebrated. I think the picture that's hanging now in the office was probably the best picture ever. It just showed how it was just phenomenal. It was awesome, right? A dream come true as little kids. Might not have been the World Series of MLB, but it was our World Series in baseball.
Yeah.
And, it was just great. It was a culmination and everything happened for a reason that year. I mean, we had things happen to us that would never happen. I mean, there's times where someone got injured. We'd have JD come in, who was a pitcher, and we're thinking, okay, bases loaded. We're down 3 runs.
He's coming up to bat.
He's coming up to bat. We're
bat.
like, oh man, this game's over. Then next pitch, he hits a grand slam.
And I think that happened maybe twice in the season. So we used him as our what do you want to say? As our
like our good luck charm.
Yeah.
Pretty much. He never hit. But because of the way the rosters were too, it was hard for us because you couldn't just carry a big roster either.
I was looking at a pretty small roster. Definitely took him today's
25 guys, I think is all it was. But it was definitely a relief. It was, like I said, that was coming as a transfer, my first year at Laverne, winning the World Series. It was big for me. I mean, my expectations were obviously high leading into the following year. And again, we still had a great season the following year. But that season, it's just one to remember. That feeling at the end, that relief, was just, gosh, we did it, right? We just won, and our goal was accomplished.
It was
a great feeling.
Yeah, well worth it. We even missed graduation because we did get rained in, so it was like it didn't matter.
That's right.
Because we were on that hot streak. So
yeah,
it was great.
So that year also, you guys were led by a legend of Laverne, Owen Wright, soccer coach and obviously baseball coach. I mean, tell us about some of your experience with him. What do you remember him as a leader, as a coach, as a mentor?
Well, being with Owen, he was just not my baseball, but soccer. But the guy was the most kindest guy ever. Not a bad bone in his body. He always wanted to make sure everybody was good. He loved and cared about his players. He allowed us to be who we were. At times, we're like, Coach, we need to kind of maybe tighten it up a little bit. But there was never a doubt in our mind that he always wanted to include everybody. And that's something you don't see nowadays in sports. It's either, hey, you're part of the roster, or you're done. There's times you would keep some of our friends around. They might not have played, but it's like, hey, you want to be part of the team, just be part of the team. So something unique nowadays that, you know, great man,
Yeah.
great man, great heart.
Yeah, he just like Eddie said, he might have done things differently, but gosh, he was a mastermind. He really knew what he was doing, and as long as we knew our roles, we put all our trust in him because we all believe he knew what to do, and he did. And as a person, outside of off the field, great guy. I've had many conversations with him in the office, just outside of baseball. You can come to him, you can talk to him about just about anything, whether he had the answers or not. He knew, where to lead you to. Yeah, well missed.
Yeah.
Well missed.
I tell you what, it got to the point where we all remember this is when we were heading out to the World Series, is they were trying to make sure we could only have so many people. So there's a conversation about, okay, not everybody can go. 2 people have to be left off. And we're like, we can't do that. So sure and behold, once he had talked to us seniors, it was like, we all got to go, Coach. So he, sure enough, made some calls. And then next thing you know, then our other players were allowed to come with us and be part of that. So that was pretty cool because, like I said, that I think that was an NCAA rule or something back then, but we were feeling bad, like, oh man, we can't.
We were having to drop 2 players from the squad who couldn't come, and it didn't sit well with a single person.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that change happened. Yeah, I mean, it probably made all the difference. Honestly,
Yeah.
You don't bring a whole team with you.
Yeah.
Things would be different.
So kind of going back to the beginnings a little bit, what attracted you, or what made you want to come to the University of Laverne?
Well, I know for me, I was from Vegas. I had a lot of friends that had come to Laverne. Laverne wasn't even on my radar. I didn't know what Laverne was. All I knew was Laverne and Shirley, right? So after doing some things, I just figured, you know what, I want to go somewhere. And luckily, I was able to come out here for baseball and soccer. So it gave me the opportunity to do both. So I was like, well, let's give it a try. It's California. And back then, too, financial aid, they gave us a lot of financial aid. So we were fortunate enough not to have to pay that much, if anything. But, we felt it was a great small town, a place where we could all be, get our feet wet and be able to even play as freshmen.
Yeah. For me, the story goes like this, really. In 1987, I had the opportunity to play baseball on the field at Laverne. I was playing junior league for Little League, and we were doing a regional championship there. And that was my first, time stepping foot on a college type field ever. So it had a lot of history for me in the making. From that point on, I wanted to know more about the school. They had a great baseball program there. I loved baseball. It was also a great school academically. It had what I wanted to major in. The fittings were all there for me. So, I made the right choice, and I'm glad I did.
But you guys taking time to talk to us. A couple more things here. I mean, so you're coming back now 30 years later, right? And a lot of schools, have successful teams in the past, and then a couple decades later, not so much. What is it like coming back in the lump 30 years later, knowing the team that's playing right now to the side of us is in contention for the same time national title? They're back-to-back Skybreaker City champs, back-to-back regional champs, try some super regionals, and been ranked in the top 10 nationally all year. What is it like to see the people who have followed you still competing for the same title?
I think it's great. I mean, it just shows the consistency in the program. I mean, you have Coach, who's been here for a while. You also have Coach Prager. Coach Prager played with us, so it's cool to have that consistency, and as well as the facilities. I mean, I think it's awesome. And I think just being able to also take care of academics is important to us as well, working in the education field. So for me, it's important that they take both seriously as a student athlete. So it's great to see.
The emotions right now, they're having a successful season right now. I know they're going through some of the same emotions we went through. Right now, I feel those emotions. I'm watching them play, and I understand, what's going on in their heads right now. So they have something special going on, and they know that. But you got to keep it, together. And you know, I hope again they can make it all the way as far as we did and win it as well. That's my hope right now for them.
And lastly, guys, as someone who's people who've gone through Laverne and benefited from the academic side, the athletic side, the social side, what would you say to students who are considering their college decisions right now about why they should attend the University of Laverne?
Well,
Many reasons.
speaking as a high school principal, where kids can go anywhere they want. I always talk about Laverne. I always tell kids, find the school that fits you the best. Sometimes the big schools are great, but for me, I always tell them Laverne's a great place. It's got its own niche. It's small, but offers big time opportunities. And the academics, not only did I get my bachelor's here, but my master's and my admit credential. The teaching and the networking is unbelievable. So, they have people everywhere. So at the end of the day, it was that networking and the teachers that helped me get my first job. And as I continue to grow professionally, we're still talking to our teachers and alumni that are still around. So this is a place to land if that's what you like.
Yeah, the school is great school. Love it. When I started here, why did part of the reason why I came to Laverne was being that it was a small school. I felt comfortable. I was pretty much a shy kid through high school. Did not talk much. Coming to a school like Laverne opened me up to a lot. I felt comfortable to be able to talk to anybody that's on campus. It was that kind of atmosphere. It brought me to a different level. Again, Eddie mentioned networking. I was able now to talk to people and branch out. Different avenues. So students that are looking to come to Laverne, again, it's still a very small school, and it has opportunity growth there for you, especially for someone like me who is more introverted. I'm not saying it brought me out as an extrovert now, but it allowed me to express myself in different ways that I never did in high school. And that's what the small school environment did for me. So it could do that for a lot of other people as well.
I remember too, the classroom ratios were small. I think they are similar to that way. So that relationship with the professor and teacher really fostered that learning environment to be able to have conversations and relationships like, what are you doing? How's it going?
Yeah.
So it was great to have those relationships.
It was.
As well.
Yeah.
All right, guys. I could speak to you guys all day with some of the stories you're sharing,
it.
but thank you for being so generous with your time, and it's the passion you guys still have for Laverne is really evident, and we thank you guys for coming back and for sharing some of your stories and for being a part of this year's squad as well.
Of course.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Much.
Appreciate you guys bringing us back.
Yes. Thank you very much. We appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. So can you please introduce yourself to us?
My name is Lani Wright. I'm the oldest daughter of Coach Owen Wright, who was the coach for the 1995 National Championship team, Division III.
So before we get into that National Championship team, tell us a little bit about your father that some people may not know who just knew him as Coach Wright.
So he was a coach, I think almost first and foremost, but in the broadest sense of the word coach, not just for sport, but also for everyday life. I grew up with him. He was always a coach as long as I can remember. And I would travel, or not travel, but go with him sometimes to visit ball players who are all my heroes when I was a youngster. And he was the one that We all wanted to be at our own sports events, but he couldn't because he was so often busy with his own teams. So it was always really, really special when he was able to come to ours, and he would always give us the utmost support and also tips. Also tips. He would tell us what we needed to do differently in order to improve whatever game or sport we were playing at that time. And he was always a person who loved games of all kinds, and he he um, he was part of almost constructing a family that would play games together. When we were all around as youngsters, we would play ball games. And one I remember one thing that he, when we were real young, we were playing a wiffle ball game. A wiffle ball is this funny little light ball, and we had garbage can lids for bases, and he slipped on one of those and he broke his leg really severely and ended up in a cast for about for at least 3 months, and coached soccer during that time. I remember one time that he got upset with a call that a referee made, and he started stomping out in his walking boot out into the middle of the soccer field to protest the call, and then turned around and asked for his crutch. And we all thought that he was going to go whap on the on the on the referee, but of course that's nothing he would ever do. But he was a rules fanatic and was a member of the rules committee for soccer for a long time, and so he knew his business, he knew his games, and he knew how to coach. And he did that with us as well as with his teams.
I mean, your dad is one of some of the last breed of people who could coach two collegiate sports
Yes.
and do well.
Yes.
Just for some of the people I've heard speak about him as a baseball coach,
Mhm.
as a soccer coach, what was it like for you to see, these young adults look up to your father that way?
Oh, it when he passed away, that was the time that I could really see everybody coming out of the woodwork. I was just telling Moose that one of my strong memories is of meeting all these different players who had played with him, some of whom I remembered, some of whom I didn't, but to a person, they would say how much coach's influence had on their lives. And that to me is the epitome of what a coach is to send those ripples out into the world. And that he did so well. And as I say, when these guys were talking, it was bringing me to tears because their words were the epitome of what I always experienced as his child as well.
So, growing up and when your dad was here, how often were you at Laverne at games with him?
Oh, that's a good question. I wasn't at Laverne games all that often because I lived in Illinois at the time. And so it was only during holidays that we were out here. But I would always hear him tell stories about his games, and then hear other people who were big baseball and soccer fans will tell stories. And I would always listen to those, although I didn't get to be at very many games. And I didn't get to be, of course, at the national championship, unfortunately, because I was living thousands of miles away. But I heard him talk about it and heard him. I was very taken with what the guys were saying about how great a strategist he was. And as he told the story about how he put those different games together in that tournament, I realized again how great a strategist he really is. And he knew the game so well, and he knew his players so well that he could mix and match in a way that would always make a winning combination.
As you mentioned, we're here celebrating the 30th anniversary of the
Mhm.
1995 National Championship team, and you just mentioned, how your dad would talk about that team. Laverne was obviously a very special place for him.
Yes.
Uh, what would you talk about when he would talk about the University of Laverne and why he stuck around for so long?
He stayed because he is a person who sticks. He takes on a responsibility and he sticks with that responsibility. He finds a way through when there are difficulties in order to be able to meet those responsibilities. That was a thing he really worked hard to instill in all of his kids as well.
And lastly here, just tell us one more time what it means to you to see people who played here 30 years ago
Hmm.
coming back and recalling such some such great stories of the time here at Laverne, the time playing for your father.
Well, I was standing back there, as you mentioned, it became a longer interview than you expected, but the stories were so great. I stood behind you there and I was brought to tears by listening to these guys tell their stories about how much it meant to them to be part of the team and how much it has meant to them, obviously, to come back at this time and to sense what is going on in terms of the current ULV team and what their success is meaning to them, and because they recognize that those emotions and those feelings so well, and to hold on and to realize that those emotions can easily be brought back is really a testament to also the underpinnings that I think my dad, or the ethos that was through all of his teams. Everyone talks about how much the camaraderie and the family feel, and he really worked at that, and he knew, just by being himself, he knew that was one of the most valuable things that they would take with them.
We talk about the Leo family a lot, and a lot of that is
Hmm.
due to people like your father who instilled those family values within his team, and that, of course, spread across the athletic
Yeah.
department and across campus.
Yes, yes.
So we thank your father for his dedication, and we thank you and your family for supporting him during his time here as well.
Oh, our pleasure. Thank you so much for including me. I really appreciate that.